It's weird saying it now, but growing up in South Africa, my generation, you always knew that you were privileged because you had a white skin.
How were you taught to view these laws of apartheid? Were you told that they were good, or how did you
Not
view
necessarily. The uprising that you're speaking of, I don't even remember it. I think we were completely oblivious from those sorts of things.
And I'm just curious, when did you learn about Nelson Mandela? Because you said you didn't know.
No, I grew up not knowing who Nelson Mandela was at all. It was kind of funny because my cousins that grew up in the United States knew all about him. And when he was due to be released in South Africa, I remember asking my mom, who is Nelson Mandela? And she said, oh, he's a communist. Because, see, that's what we were taught.
When you came to America, what was it like?
It was interesting because we grew up with watching American movies. But we had the idea that the black people in America were more educated, they were, that's a whole different, we would consider that, oh, well, that's different. Mm-hmm. It's different in South Africa. People don't understand that our black people aren't educated. That's how we grew up knowing. So when I came to the United States, it was very eye-opening for me. It didn't take very long before I realized, oh, now I see. Now I understand what the whole uproar against apartheid is. Driving around and seeing bumper stickers on cars that would say not negative things about the government or the president at the time in this country, maybe joking about it. I could not believe that you were allowed to do that, because growing up in South Africa, we were not allowed to speak out against the government. Everybody can go to any public place. Where in South Africa, growing up, I would catch the bus into the center of Pretoria to go to my college, which was a Technikon, and we called white buses, and there were black buses and white buses. And growing up and going to the beaches, there were white beaches and black beaches. There were even benches that would say whites only. Growing up, you never saw homeless white people. Now you do. Now you see homeless white people, because the balance is slowly starting to happen. So people, even white people that didn't have a good education or college education, are now competing and not finding jobs. There still continue to be huge portions of the population that don't have lights and water, that were made huge promises. If they voted for the ANC, they would have all this stuff, and it hasn't happened. Nelson Mandela was a great man. I think it's unfortunate because I don't think the country actually really did what he stood for. Corruption, that's what I'm trying to say. It's a big problem in South Africa. Even the police force in South Africa are also very corrupt, because my brother, who tells me that if you get pulled over by a policeman, if you tell them you'll go to the ATM and draw money for them, they won't write you a ticket. People always ask me, would you ever go back to South Africa to live? Yeah. My answer right out is no. I've changed too much. When I go back and I hear the way some people talk, I see the huge, differences. I wouldn't go back. Even though my mom is still there, my brothers, all my relatives are there, I would, as long as Matt's here, and even if anything happened to Matt, I would still stay here. And like I say, I don't know everything. This is just my little perspective. So